So I was actually having a bit of problems with my aquarium plants. I wanted them to look like this, but I just couldn't get them to grow. And so today I'm going to show you the experiments that helped me get there. Welcome back to Island Fish Keeping for my second video ever. If you saw my first video, you would have seen some of the experiments I was running right here under this main tank. These experiments were actually really important to me because they helped me find a way to grow my aquarium plants in a super simple and easy way. So it all started when I set up my 29-gallon tank. When I set this tank up, one of the things I did was use the same aqua soil from the smaller tank right before it. The problem I ran into was that some of the plants, like my Amazon swords, just weren't growing. For reference, here's an Amazon sword absolutely thriving, even to the point of sending out flowers. I was also having problems in my smaller tank upstairs. Here is that smaller tank with one of my favorite fish that I've ever owned. This is a copper samurai half-moon plakat. Sadly, he passed away, however I was able to get some awesome photos of him before he passed. The problem is, these plants need more than rock and sand to grow. The only plant that I can think of that can grow in solid rock is the Ohia lehua tree. The Ohia trees are a very special tree that's actually endemic to the Hawaiian Islands. And what makes them so special is that after the lava flows, they're one of the first plants to colonize the new lava fields. On top of the tree being so cool, it's actually beautiful and comes in red, pink, white, and even yellow. So the problem is, these plants are actually not the Ohia tree, go figure, and so they actually need a good substrate system to help them grow. And so that brings us right back here, to right underneath my main tank. And what made these jars so special was that I used a mixture of organic potting soil and sand for the substrate. Back in high school, I actually used this method to dirt a couple of my tanks, and I saw amazing results. And so after having trouble with my big tank, I decided I would give this another go and I would try it on a much smaller scale, hence me making these jars. And I think it's safe to say they were an absolute success. It was this small success that actually led me to dirt my small tank upstairs in the last video I did. And so now I actually want to show you guys how I made these jars, and so the first thing that I'm going to do is boil some water. Sorry, I gotta clean my stove real quick. So I'm just gonna be using this glass jar just for the sake of the demonstration. So here I'm adding organic potting soil. It's important to make sure that it's organic so there's nothing added that will actually harm the tank later on. And now with the water boiled, it's time to add it to the dirt. So the reason I'm doing this is there's actually a lot of organic material like wood chips floating around in this dirt mixture. And rather than removing those, I decided I wanted to keep them in there because they'll break down and turn into more dirt later on. But boiling the water and pouring it into the dirt actually allows for the little wood chips to soak and become waterlogged, thus creating dirt that I can use in my fish tank. And here you can see the dirt starting to settle and separate and do exactly what I wanted it to do. And so now that it's separated, I'm going to go ahead and scoop out the floating particles just because I don't want those floating up into the water column after I set up the jars. And here's the final product, a jar of dirt. So now I'm going to show you guys how I actually built these jars. It's super simple. And so right here, I've got a couple different little plants that I'm going to use. Let's get started. So the first plant I'm actually going to use is a plant called Marsilea crenata. And it's like a little tiny clover, just that little thing right there. Really like it. And it's a carpeting plant. And then the next one is Liliopsis maritiana. Probably butchering these names. So don't destroy me in the comments, but yeah, here you go. Trying my best. So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually prep the little containers where I'm gonna be keeping these plants. These are just super simple glass cups. So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually get a little layer of dirt in there. And so this is the dirt from that other jar. So I'm literally just gonna scoop this out and use just a very little amount. I mean, it's a very small jar, just to give the plant roots something to grab onto. I'll do the next jar as well. So the next thing I'm gonna do is get some sand. This has already been pre-rinsed, and I'm literally just gonna put just little scoops of this into there. It's pretty much gonna be about 1 to 1. So just half dirt, half sand. To plant some of these carpeting plants, it may be a little bit easier to kind of break them up. So I'm gonna tear them apart and just get them ready. And then, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna fold these kind of back so they're kind of in some little clumps here. And I'm just gonna poke them into the sand and then use the tweezers to kind of cover them up. Not fully, but just enough to keep them from floating off. And then yeah, we're just gonna keep doing that for both plants in both jars. And hopefully what we should end up with is a carpet of cool little plants. So here's one finished, just with a little bit of plants in there. And then here's the Marsilea. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill these up with water, and then I'm going to just set these under there with the rest of the experiments, and they should grow. And that's literally it. It's like super simple. This is literally the experiment that I ran before, and this is what gave me the confidence actually to dirt my tank upstairs. After seeing the way that experiments like these little guys turned out, I was really excited, and so I gave it a shot with my bigger tanks. And so if you're thinking about it and you don't want to make the commitment to do the bigger tanks yet, I would say run the little experiments. It's fun, super easy. And then if you have good success with it, just do it in the big tanks. Thanks again for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did making it. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and stay tuned for the next one. Mahalo.